Well, the old Saddle Dome there, whether you spell it with two T's or you spell it with two D's, she's fallen down and becoming an eyesore within that city of Calgary. But all said, still a pretty big fun night at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome in Calgary for a little work function last night. So that was a real blast to get out. And of course, something that I've long pushed for at work to try and get us all out to hang out and go to the Saddle Dome for a night and get some of the teammates, maybe new new experience, right? So that's where we sit coming into this fine Saturday morning where the Edmonton Oilers are set to face the Colorado Avalanche. I believe 8 o'clock. It's Hockey Night in Canada. That would only make sense. But, friends, before that, I look to have missed a couple of things yesterday, but I also want to add a couple of things and then obviously kind of set up what's going to be a fun afternoon in Calgary again. This time with Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic as we get set to head out on the town and watch the Edmonton Oilers hopefully beat those aforementioned Colorado Avalanche. This is Dolany TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're tuning in from. Great to have you along as we get set to discuss two players that I think realistically for the Oilers are the solution on the back end. Patrick mentioned one yesterday, but I haven't seen too much speculation about this one yet for the Oilers or in general across the NHL, and I'd be interested to kind of see what ends up happening here if he could be a solution on the back end. So, as we get to it, obviously number one, Mattias Ekholm, right? That's kind of where we sit. Is Mattias Ekholm has been mentioned as a potential solution and potentially available for the Oilers. But before that, hold on, I forgot a housekeeping note. Folks, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is consider hitting that subscribe button, entering this video. 94 subscribers away. You think I'd be a little bit more pumped up about that? Well, maybe I am, but somehow almost forgot to mention that. There we go. However, let's get to it. We've done that. We're good. The housekeeping notes are done. Here's Mattias Ekholm in case you're unfamiliar. That's a terrible screenshot and you can barely see my eyes and I don't know what I'm doing. Video editing on the fly, terrible. But anyway, here's the thing I like about Mattias Ekholm. 6'4", 215. Big old Swedish defenseman on the back end. Yeah, that's what I like about Mattias Ekholm. That's about all we need to go. He's a left, right-hand defenseman kind of deal. He can play both if needs to, and he's a left-hand shot. So, right, that fills out that Oilers profile of that left-hand shot they're looking for to allow minutes away from Darnell Nurse. So, as it currently sits, Mattias Ekholm, as mentioned by Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic yesterday, I think one of those guys the Oilers need to be targeting, one of those guys the Oilers have been targeting for as long as I have done this. The Oilers have been interested in trading for Mattias Ekholm. Seems about this time every year it crops up, and it's something we discuss. Now, let's go back to that graphic quickly because Ekholm carries a big old cap hit of $6.25 million, and I believe that contract extends for a couple more years yet, so it's not like it's a perfect get going, but here's in case in point to what I'm trying to say today in today's video. Little kitty, stop the meowing. You're fine, baby. Oh, you want to come see me? Okay, hello, buddy. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you're trading for either Chychrun or you're trading for Ekholm, you're taking on above $4 million of cap space, almost guaranteed. Even if the Oilers get 33% retained on Ekholm, you're still bringing home over $4 million of cap space. So when you talk about that for the Oilers, that's a huge chunk. That's something we really can't realistically afford to do at this point. But in all of this, when it comes for the Oilers and making a trade, obviously we know the first round draft pick is on the table. We know that yes, Puljujarvi's on the table. We know for a while and still probably Warren Foegele to some degree is available. You know that a couple of the prospects down on the farm, whether they're having good seasons or bad seasons, are in the mix in case we need to pull the trigger to upgrade. So you know that. But what we also know is the fact that you have to move money. And on the blue line to make space, you're going to have to move someone as well. Now, obviously, if you move someone in on the left side, you move out Puljujarvi, Foegele, and whatever you do, well, okay, cool. Now you're down two top 12 forwards. All you've done is fix a hole on the back end that's not guaranteed to fix itself, and well, you've kind of traded cap space for cap space. That's kind of what shakes out there if you're the Edmonton Oilers. However, if you're the Oilers and you do go after Chychrun, you do go after Ekholm, is the fact that you also have to make room for that defenseman. And yeah, sure, Broberg and Niemelainen can stop playing, but on the back end, you've got a guy carrying a $4+ million cap hit. That would be a very good move. Obviously, Tyson Barrie brings a lot to this Edmonton Oilers defense in terms of points. But right, in terms of what he does, Bouchard can replace that. And heck, Darnell Nurse, everybody wants to yell that he doesn't have power play one time. Give him power play one time and allow him that space to kind of eat up more of that 9 whatever million dollar contract. That's what I'd say. That's what I'd say there. Because Tyson Barrie, you're able to move $4+ million of cap space in one player. Sucks that we'd lose him. I know he's loved in the room. I know there's a ton to be said about Tyson Barrie, but this is where we move into the back half of the video and where I'm going with this overall, right? Mattias Ekholm, Jakob Chychrun, great additions to this Oilers team. However, I don't think they satisfy that one need, right? That one unquantifiable thing that many folks look for in a hockey team, and that is that grit, that is that anger, that is that kind of fight, that is that ability to go out there and ground and pound your opponents in the defensive zone and in the neutral zone. And that's where there's one guy that I haven't heard anything about yet, and obviously he's on a $2.5 million contract, and I think would work just perfect for the Edmonton Oilers. You see the name there, let me make it larger in case you don't. Mattias Ekholm, obviously big target, but Radko Gudas of the Florida Panthers. And you can tell me, well, the Panthers aren't selling. The Panthers aren't going to give up on their season as of yet. Not as of yet. But when you talk about pulling the trigger on a Radko Gudas trade, you're not necessarily going to have to do it today, tomorrow, in February. You can do it at the trade deadline. Will the price be higher? Potentially, right? That's the problem. But when you're talking about Radko Gudas, he's 6'0", 205 pounds, and the man is a tank out there. I don't even think those stats are necessarily correct, but he hits like a truck. He's a big-time physical player on the back end for the Florida Panthers. He scored some points this season. But when you're looking at that, right, you think about this Oilers defense, would you not trade to have on this team, right? You move up Ekholm to the second pair, you pair him with Evan Bouchard, you keep Nurse and Ceci together, and then on that third pair you have Kulak and Radko Gudas. Man, tell me you don't like the sounds of that Edmonton Oilers defense. That sounds very exciting to me. So that's one thing that I'm kind of looking at now. Is I was sitting here talking to Patrick earlier today, and we're talking about trade targets and stuff. And it's like, okay, we need to do something big at when we're out and about tonight before the Oilers game. But I did want to sit down and actually realistically look at it. And I think there's one thing to be said for, I just got to get my video about Ekholm up, but at the same rate too, I got to get something new up, so as I'm not just, oh, Patrick had something up, I got to have something up. No, I wanted to add a different element, and it's so often easy for me to say, well, just trade Tyson Barrie, right? That's what I've said day in, day out most of this season is, if you're going to trade for cap space, you trade Pouliot, Harvey, and Barrie. But I've never had a complete kind of solution to what you do to fix losing Tyson Barrie. Will you ever replace the points? Probably not. That said, though, if Darnell Nurse gets hot on the power play and goes streaky, you probably can for a little bit. So that's not necessarily the concern. But when it looks for it for the Oilers, they need that right-hand shot defenseman to replace him. And that is exactly what Radko Gudas would do for them. And I mean, you talk about adding the freight train Radko Gudas to the bottom pairing, and you talk about adding Mattias Ekholm, kind of that veteran light for Evan Bouchard, right? He's missing Duncan Keith is what we're saying. Well, pair Mattias Ekholm with Evan Bouchard and see what happens when he's got a 6'4" defenseman on the ice that can battle guys in front a little stronger than maybe Bouchard can, and we allow ourselves two defenseman pairs that suddenly equal out a lot better with ice time than having Darnell Nurse play half a game. That's where I'm saying is, you know what, Jakob Chychrun, Mattias Ekholm, you can love what they can do for you all day, and hey, I mean, they will fit that second pair, but if you're giving up Tyson Barrie to make all that cap space work, Radko Gudas, a $2.5 million cap hit, he is a perfect replacement and a perfect fit on an Oilers blue line trying to go to the Stanley Cup final and win it all. Folks, I'm Tyson, this is Stallini TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, this afternoon. It is noon now. One more time, if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is consider hitting that subscribe button here on the channel. And with that, my friends, have yourself a great rest of the afternoon. We will talk to you sometime before game time from somewhere in Calgary as Patrick and I get set to watch the Oilers, the Avs, at 8 o'clock tonight on Hockey Night in Canada. Enjoy.